Hi, I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. My channel is dedicated to helping victims of narcissistic abuse get free and stay free. I've absolutely come to believe that we are targeted by these things. Now, we've discussed in the past why we are likely being targeted, and I think a lot of it really stems with the fact that so many of us are light workers and truth tellers and earth angels and empaths. And I do believe that if they're going to target anyone, why wouldn't it be us? I mean, that all makes sense to me. And certainly when you look out into the community, into the collective of victims, targets, and survivors, that's what you see over and over again. There seems to be very obvious common threads that link them, and I too have seen a common thread that links all of us. Okay, so if we're being targeted by them, that's not all bad news, because at this point, I certainly feel armed up and ready to defend myself against one of them through immediate removal from my life, through identification and knowledge. Now, there are a lot of ways you could spot one of them, but you could also ask them a couple of questions. And I want to talk about some of the ways we can keep ourselves safe from these things infiltrating our lives in the future. Now, we all know what a task it is to get free from the rotten things, so you certainly don't want to find yourself free, beginning your life, starting a whole new future, looking forward to your life, only to find another one. Now, I think we're going to find a lot of them, and I'll tell you, that's been my experience since I left Trevor in the House of Pain. They seem to swoop in, and with quite a bit of regularity. So I do definitely believe we're being targeted, and I don't think we've seen the end of this by getting rid of the narc in question today. I think there's another one waiting in the wings, and I think we need to be prepared. I believe we're intentionally targeted by these things, and that tells me, with their hive mind, more will be swooping in. Many of us, me included, have admitted to ignoring the red flags. We almost failed our own intuition. I think the biggest thing we really need to consider is, if we see red flags, if our intuition is telling us something's wrong, we need to pay attention to that and act on it. Our gut is good. Our gut knows. And we just have to have a little bit more faith in our gut instinct and in our intuition. And I think that's the first step. And of course, there's that saying, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And that's the truth of it. Certainly know what the idealization and love bombing phase looks like. So that in itself is an absolutely huge indicator that you've now been introduced to, met, or now are working with or dating someone that you really don't want in your life. And I'll be honest with you, believing that we're targeted leads me to believe that more are going to be, trying to inject themselves into my life. So at this point, pretty much everybody's suspect. And why shouldn't I be cautious? I'm not doing that again. Holy cow, I narrowly escaped with my life. I have the right to question who I'm letting in my life, in my home, in my bed, around my children. I have that right. I have the right to protect myself from this insidious evil. I certainly get the idea of group support. I mean, that's what we do here, and it's been tremendously beneficial for me personally. I just love and adore you guys. Knowing you has changed my life. But the fact is, I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about a potential narcissist willing to infiltrate itself in my life, try to take control of my mind and manipulate me and destroy my life. And I have the right to be cautious and protect myself and be suspicious of people that could be willing to do that, if you can call them people. Now, having a support group is really important, and being able to share your personal experiences is gravely important. And if you have been victimized, as we have, I think it's extremely healing and beneficial to share those experiences and just get them off our chest. But when you meet someone and you're on a first date with them and they're presenting as a victim, you need to be cautious of this. Now, I'm not trying to suggest that shy or socially awkward people or people that are introverted are narcissists. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is narcissists tend to have very limited social lives. And there's a few reasons for that. Primarily, they tend to be alcoholic. They tend to have sort of social issues, drug addiction. The other thing too is if you live in a small town, as Trevor and I did, Trevor didn't want to go out in public ultimately because he didn't want to run into an ex or anyone that had seen beyond the mask for that point. I'd be a little bit cautious around someone who didn't have a social life or a lot of hobbies or interests or didn't belong to any groups. That would be a red flag for me today. I'd be extremely leery of someone who didn't have a lot of friends. Just in my personal experience in life, if you're a nice person and you like people, people tend to like you and you tend to have friends. I could straight out ask the creature if you're suspicious of it. Ask it a couple of really simple questions. First, ask the thing and look it straight in the eye to, see its reaction. How would you improve yourself if you could? Narcissist is forced, even in a split moment, to think about themselves and how they would improve themselves. This is going to start sending them in all kinds of emotional directions. They're going to feel fear right away. All of a sudden, those feelings of envy and that trauma that's associated with abandonment, all of these things are going to start to come up in them, and they may not be able to answer the question. Now, in Trevor's case, I did ultimately ask him that question, but he immediately went into projection and deflecting all of that off himself, saying things like, well, the thing I'd change about myself is I wouldn't have married so-and-so, or I would never have had kids with so-and-so, or I wish my parents had been more supportive. So immediate projection onto other people, assuming none of the idea that he could improve, because on one hand, he thought he was superior to everyone else. And on the other hand, he saw himself as a very broken, frail, incapacitated, emotionally human being. So all that conflict and confusion in them, the contradiction in them, will make it very, very difficult to answer that question. And I would guarantee, if I was sitting face to face with any one of you and I asked you that question, within a very, very short period of time, with a little introspective thought, you would come up with ways that you would personally like to improve yourself as a human being. Them, not so much. If there's someone new in your life and you're feeling a little suspicious of this, you could just flat out ask them, hey buddy, are you a narcissist? Because you know what? They like it. They know what they are. And they will quite likely take a moment to boast about that, saying something like, I've done a good job in life. I've worked hard in life. I deserve what I have. Easily justify their narcissism by saying the world hasn't treated me fairly. Why wouldn't I be a narcissist? Either way, if you point blank ask them and they confess to being a narcissist, take that confession very seriously. It may be the only honest and truthful thing they ever say to you. All of us are part of a massive global awakening. This global awakening can be seen in every aspect of human life. We are seeing people wake up to the corruption of our governments, our medical systems, our educational systems. We are waking up to the lies, and we have absolutely woken up to this hideous form of domestic abuse. And I do believe that as we wake up, our collective mind, the raising of the vibration here on planet Earth, is going to cause in them a real need to push back. They don't want to be exposed, and we're exposing them daily. Now, if you're planning to get free, or you are free now, just keep in mind, don't put your guard down. There could always be another one waiting in the wings. Keep yourself safe, guys. Keep your eyes open. You know how to spot them. I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. I hope you guys are having a great narc-free day.